What is the strategic importance of Maldives for New Delhi?
Well, Maldives is India's one of the most strategic neighbors of India, because the Maldives, the word itself means Sanskrit origin, means a garland of islands. Now they're very small country, very small population, but huge maritime strategic significance in terms of their exclusive economic zone, in terms of their positioning in the Indian Ocean region, and as a part of India's own maritime security. Maldives is very much a shared part of this. Now, we do know that President Muizzu had campaigned on an India out policy, and immediately after he became president, there was, some of his ministers made some totally unacceptable remarks against our leadership. And the reaction to that illustrated very much the strategic significance of both Maldives and India for each other. On the Indian side, the Indian tourists said, why should we go to Maldives? We're going to cancel all our visits. On the Maldives side, the people themselves said, the tourism association, the tour operator, they said, look, we need India. We cannot have a situation for the survival of Maldives without a good relationship with India. So this mutuality of strategic interests made both India and Maldives recalibrate their relationship. It was a great success for India's neighborhood first foreign policy that, from a very difficult moment at the start of President Muizzu's presidentship, we now have a situation where our Prime Minister is the first foreign head of state or government to be invited for the Independence Day celebrations, the 60th one tomorrow, also the 60th anniversary of bilateral relations. And then look at the outcome of the visit. This is so significant because the kind of the wide range of issues covered, you mentioned already the infrastructure, the payments, the fintech, that, now if you're going to Maldives, you can pay, there's a currency swap agreement extending to $400 million, and you can pay dollars currency. Very valuable for both sides, very pragmatic. The high community impact projects are very good indeed.
Okay, Ambassador Jayandas Gupta, how has this reset happened? Is there a story we have missed? Because if we go by the narratives published in papers, the relationship was very bitter. The welcome he has received and the pictures that have come, it's very warm.
I think there are 3 or 4 issues which really enabled us to forge a closer relationship with the Muizzu government. Before that, of course, India was very close with the earlier government of the Maldives Democratic Party, MDP. Now, in this case, what happened was President Muizzu first went to Turkey in December 23, then he went to China in January 24, and all previous presidents of Maldives have first visited India. Then in April 2024, he had a massive victory. His party had a massive victory in parliament. So that consolidated their hold on power. But at the same time, what happened on the Indian front was that despite a lot of provocative statements, including the one Ambassador Sikri mentioned in January 2024 about bad-mouthing and virtually bordering on abuse of our leadership, India maintained a very, very calm posture and restraint. India did not, for instance, stop the flow of funds, the lines of credit which were already there, and then 3 treasury bills amounting to $150 million that India rolled over. And then there was another thing. There was a currency swap of about $750 million, which also took place. And India continued to help Maldives in building up its infrastructure, its social sector, and notably the health infrastructure, for instance, has received, and housing have received a lot of funds. The last point of friction was the stationing of 76 personnel from the Indian Air Force and military. And President Muizzu's election was on this India Out program. And the first step was to get rid of these Indian Army personnel. So India withdrew them, and they were substituted by people from the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. So all these helped But overall, if I may put it, it was the restraint, the calmness shown by India, and the helping hand, which was not tom-tommed about. It was extended all the time in a very, very substantive way. And that is what I think tilted the balance in India's favor. And President Muizzu realized that he had, of course, to cater to his domestic constituency, but getting closer to China was not perhaps in the overall getting closer to China at the cost of India was not perhaps in his national interest. That is what I think has dawned on the administration of Maldives, and that is what has led to this. One last point I wanted to mention: India is developing a port in, amongst many other things, in the Maldives, and there was a Chinese agriculture station, Chinese funded, and India had certain reservations about that. That has also been shifted away, or it has been stopped by the Maldivian government at the behest of India. So there are various things which have taken place, and all of these have led to the reset. And in this, I think the Indian government has shown remarkable restraint, calmness, diplomacy, and farsightedness.
Okay. General Kulkarni, in 1980s, during Rajiv Gandhi's tenure, we could organize Operation Cactus, and it was successful. But from the context of military, how does this reset helps us strategically?
Karthike, thank you. Besides what both the ambassadors have stated, it has a tremendous strategic value. Firstly, because of the navigation. And until unless these days, if you do not have the maritime security, it isn't very easy to function, especially with the kind of inroads that the Chinese have made. After all, it's a total 298 square kilometers is what Maldives is, but spread over 90,000 square kilometers of sea. And that's something very, it's almost like a toll gate between the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf of Aden, the Strait of Malacca, distance about 750 kilometers, equidistant to say from Sri Lanka and India, and on the navigational route. And definitely, we have I would say, a very old historical linkages with Maldives, going dating back almost as old as the island is 2,500-year-old, that the people inhabited and everything has started over there. Of course, they had influence around 1472 or something like that, when he would enroll, and they would almost be calling it Molai or something like that. But what, notwithstanding that, the Chinese influence, but the Chinese influence doesn't come so easy. The Maldivians have realized that they almost pay $100 million every year as annual debt back to China.